What's the price of a beer in your country? The global desire for beer prevails even in a pandemic. Today we compare the average beer price in most countries and see which countries have the cheapest beer and places we would pay the most to get a bottle of beer. Then we will see just how much do we drink, then later we will discuss who spends the most. Okay, now before we start, make sure to hit that subscribe button for a daily dose of such content. What's the price of a beer in your country? Although fewer people have been able to grab a beer at the pub during this pandemic, the global desire for beer prevails. For example, sales of the Corona beer actually shot up in the past year, despite, or perhaps because of, associations with the coronavirus. This World Beer Index compares the average price of a bottle of beer in 58 countries in a detailed map. Additionally, we will see which countries spend the most on beer per capita, and just how much beer people really drink. Keep in mind that these values are calculated considering that a beer bottle can hold 330 milliliters. In Qatar, you'd have to shell out $11.26 for a single beer, which would surely make for a really expensive night out on the town. In part, this is because in 2019, the Muslim-majority country introduced a 100% excise tax on top the previous sales price of all alcohol imports. These steep prices are aimed at tourists, and with Qatar hosting the 2022 Men's Soccer World Cup, there'll be thousands of visitors in the country looking for a cold one at any price. At just $1.68 per bottle, South Africa has the lowest average price of a beer thanks at least partially to cultural norms of buying in bulk. Then comes Ukraine and Argentina spending about $1.80 per bottle. An average person in Brazil pays $2.52 and an Indian pays $3.90, and on an average a person in US is expected to pay $4.75. The Russians, however, pay $5.06. These are quite cheap compared to the ones next in our list. A Chinese would pay $7.71, and a person visiting Jordan would end up paying $9.40. Now that we know how much everyone spends on a bottle of beer, let's see the per capita spend on beer. The price of a single beer is one thing, but which countries spend the most on beer itself? Germany unsurprisingly tops the list here with nearly $2,000 of expenditures per capita, bolstered by its strong beer culture and annual Oktoberfest celebration. Germany also prides itself on the purity of its beer. The vast majority of brewers follow the Reinheitsgebot, centuries-old purity laws that broadly state that beer may contain only 3 ingredients: water, barley, and hops. Following closely behind is Poland, which spends $1,738 per capita. Meanwhile, the US ranks 8th in the world for the highest spending on beer per capita at $1,554. Beer is also the country's most popular alcoholic beverage. Canada spends around $963 and the Chinese spends $982.44. The Russians have a peculiar way with alcohols and spends $1,345 each year. Tell us down in the comments below if you want to know more on the Russian drinking culture. There are quite some things you might be interested in, I promise. Indians, however, pays only around $100 on beer, and in Indonesia a person spends only around $21 annually, and I forgot to mention that a bottle of beer there costs only $3.17 there. Now the last question remains, how much beer do people drink? The Czech Republic emerges on top in this regard, with 468 beers on average in a year. That works out to 1.3 beers per day. Spain and Germany are next with 417 and 411 beers, respectively. On the flip side, people in Haiti only drink about 4 beers yearly. This may be because they prefer something a little stronger. 97% of alcohol consumption in the nation comes from spirits such as rum. A US citizen drinks 282 beers a year and a Canadian, 243. Indians, however, drinks only 25 a year. Beer has been around for over 7,000 years. No matter the price of a beer in your country, it's worth raising a glass to the timelessness of this humble beverage.
Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright.